finding and maintaining the relationship with the master. This is going to come more during the Guru Yoga, so I will make it less at this point. Here, the important is to notice that if you are serious in seeking a spiritual path, the master is crucial. Having the master, attitude towards the master, ideally, master as the Buddha, trying to understand the teaching and teachings at all cost. Even at times one is interrupted by impure perception towards the master, thinking again and again that that is my own perception. Even the situations that are not necessarily soothing, such as getting scolded, taking them as a taking them with a indifference attitude, and at all cost trying to have respect and veneration towards the gurus, even to his shadow. These are all really important for mindfulness lojong, mindfulness training. And most importantly, how to emulate the guru. And while emulating or following the footsteps of the master, not making a big mess while like swan swimming in the lake, they never make mess, they just swim so gracefully. Like a bees, when they go around sucking the nectar from different flowers, they don't damage the flower, they just suck the nectar. And not only that, they also spread the seed of the flower everywhere. By the way, this one is this is really difficult. Whenever we follow a master, we always end up making lots of mess. We are basically born very insecure. So jealousy, the possessiveness, all this creeps in. Competitions. So in the process of obeying one order from the master, we end up disobeying about 100 others. Generally, it's difficult to analyze the master because we are not equipped with this kind of intellect. And we can never judge by outer appearance. Forget master, even an ordinary person we cannot judge just because of their appearance. So this is actually a really important advice. So not to be too frantic about searching the master. Frantic and paranoid. Generate aspiration, do aspiration, and pray to the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, so that instead of you exhausting your energy in searching the master, that master will actually find you. Being found is much more important than searching. Like a Marpa found Milarepa. Even though it looks like Milarepa was searching for the master. When Milarepa first saw Marpa plowing the field, just like an ordinary, farmer, just the sight of this man stopped all kinds of ordinary thoughts for a while. So, like Milarepa and also the Bodhisattva this is coming from the Prajnaparamita Sutra of 1,000 verses. I always keep on forgetting the names in Sanskrit. The Bodhisattva who always has the tears. I'm sure you have it in Chinese. How this Bodhisattva emulate and follow the footsteps of their master. This is how we should try to have aspiration to follow the master. The next, we now begin with the actual practice of Ngondo, beginning with a refuge. Okay, refuge is really, it's fundamental. It's just really important. In fact, some of the lamas would even say it is the refuge that determines whether you are not a Buddhist or not, whether you are Buddhist or not. And that actually is quite an important statement. Refuge has something to do with surrendering, trusting, following. Yes, believe also. Taking refuge, basically, you are surrendering to this. Now, as you can see, when you surrender to someone, this someone has to be non-deceptive. It should not deceive you. It doesn't matter whether it's a someone or a system or whatever, it should not deceive you. For instance, when we surrender to a political system, political party, we believe that that system, that dogma, that philosophy is the right answer for the country. And ideally, you are supposed to really read the manifesto or the text or whatever the political belief, and then really scrutinize, analyze, and then finally, yes, this should answer to our problem. Of course, ordinary people, we take refuge to a lot of things like, money, friendship, love, thinking that will answer the questions. If only I get so and so. And then, working hard for it, right? And this indicates something else. This indicates that whatever you are taking refuge to should be also available. Otherwise, what's the point of taking refuge to something that is unavailable or maybe not so sure? Even though it's good, but if it's not possible, not available, then it's kind of pointless. And whatever you are taking refuge to, it should also not deceive you throughout, all the time. If it not deceive you today but deceives you tomorrow, it's pointless. Like when we take refuge to the umbrella, let's say like today, rain, we know that this umbrella is, has worked. Whenever we use the umbrella, it protects us from the getting wet. So we can trust this. Now, based on this, if you think almost everything we take refuge to, like money, relationship, love, political system, they are almost always deceptive, hard to get, many times unavailable. And to get them also, it costs a lot. Financial cost, emotional cost, energy cost. So let's say, one should make money. Let's go to MBA. And let's do this and that. Apply all the logical, methods. Many times it doesn't answer all the questions. So the object of the refuge is failing you here. Deceptive object of refuge in this case. Because you have followed all the logic but still not working. So, with this, if you think the most non-deceptive object of refuge is Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, especially from the Mahayana point of view, it's readily available. It's your mind. The nature of the mind is the Buddha, Dharma and the Sangha. So it's there already. We don't even have to think whether it's available or not. It's there. And it's non-deceptive, such as the Dharma, like all compounded things are impermanent. That truth never failed. All compounded things are impermanent in Taipei. All compounded things are impermanent in Shanghai. All compounded things are impermanent 5,000 years ago. All compounded things are going to be impermanent in 5,000 years later. Just it's not a failure. It's not going to fail. This truth is not going to fail. So now, if you take refuge to something that trustable, is never going to disappoint you. And also it does not cost anything. It is just a matter of attitude. So for this reason, taking the refuge is the most important to begin with. The cause of the refuge, there are many: fear, compassion, devotion. Devotion is one of the most important cause, crucial cause for taking refuge. Is devotion devotion coming from being inspired by the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. Devotion that is triggered by wanting to achieve and realize this kind of truth. And then devotion, most importantly, devotion that is sparked by genuine trust that came from rational mind. Basically, we are talking about a belief. Many scientific, so-called objective people laugh at belief. The word believer has the connotation of, being a bit of an idiot. It's considered kind of like a superstitious, almost like a belief. In a modern day, we think that we are well away and advanced from this kind of arcade, backward sort of belief. But this is absolutely not true. Whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, whoever you are, scientist, Buddhist, objectivist, existentialist, non-believer, critics, skeptist, whoever, at the end of the day, there's only one thing we can do, and that is believe. And that's what we do all the time. Even the non-believers believes in their reason for not believing in something. Everything, whatever we do, even the slightest thing we do it because we believe in something. And it changes all the time.
The belief.
Our belief changes all the time. So, for a human being, belief is all we have. That's all we can do, actually. It's a matter of whether your belief is, how sober your belief is. Many, materialist believes that religious beliefs are useless and superstitious and all that. But materialist believers have not done anything better in the world. Who created atomic bomb? The scientists. They destroyed the world. So the materialistic belief actually may have destroyed the world much more than superstitious believers. All the system that we live in, economy, exchange rates, index system of, GDP, all of these are belief system, which are really, come to think of it, it's really badly designed. Nation's wealth is measured by index based on how much you manage to collect tax from the workers. It's very backward, actually. Like you chop acres and acres of trees from acres of land, and you produce maybe like 5 major newspaper, and consider that as a progress. 5 days we work hard, really, really hard, and 2 days we kind of barely have so-called weekend sort of rest, and that's called, modern sort of way of living. It's just really backward. We should have the other way, like we should have 5 days of holidays and work 2 days. And stuff like that. Just so many strange beliefs we have. Used to be 101, but now I don't know where it is. Actually, the tallest building, measured by who has the tallest building. These are completely backward, stupid belief. But nevertheless, I don't think we have a way out. We are already into it, and we have swallowed the key, remember? I'm talking, as a whole, I don't think we have a way out. It's never going to go backward. Go back. It's never going to go back. I think we will diligently, in whole, we will diligently and with a speed, we will destroy this earth. As you have noticed, I'm very pessimistic with these things. But individually, I'm quite optimistic. There will be always like few hundreds of people who would sacrifice a weekend in Taipei and listen to something like this and really try to contemplate. Anyway, we are talking about the refuge, and refuge has many different levels also. Taking refuge just to get out of the suffering, just wanting to have a better time. That's the lesser that's what we call lesser refuge. I think many of us Buddhists, so-called Buddhists, our refuge is something like that. Chanting the mantras to become rich. I don't know, doing prayers so that one will have no car accident.
Drink what?
One won't have a car accident.
Drink what?
Which, I don't know, do pujas. I'm not saying that you should not do it. Yeah, go ahead, do it. It's at least a lesser refuge. Yeah. Take refuge to the Buddha Dharma Sangha so that, market will fluctuate according to your wishes. Anyway, it's called Jebu Chungyu Chamdro. It's like an infant's refuge. Then there are some people who really want to get out of samsara. That's greater refuge. While others want all sentient beings to be free from samsara. That is the greatest. For that, if you take refuge, that is the greatest refuge. Generally, we take refuge to the Buddha as the guide, to the Dharma as the path, to the Sangha as the companion. Especially in Vajrayana, we take refuge by offering our body, speech and mind to the Guru, take refuge with a method of, taking refuge with a method of adopting a deity, Yidam.
Adapting, maybe.
Adopting. Then in the Vajrayana, 3 ways of taking refuge. One is by offering body, speech and mind to the Guru. The second is by adopting a deity. And the third, by making a pact or an agreement with the Dakini. And then in the Dzogpa Chamber tradition, taking refuge in the manner of using the nadis, the veins, nadis, as the Nirmanakaya, transforming the prana, the energy, as the Sambhogakaya, and purifying our drops, bindu, in the state of Dharmakaya. And ultimately, in the Ati Yoga level, knowing the emptiness aspect of this moment mind as the Dharmakaya, clarity aspect of this moment mind as the Sambhogakaya, and everything manifesting from this clarity and emptiness as the Nirmanakaya. Continuing with the refuge. Even though, as I said earlier, especially in the Mahasandhi level, the object of the refuge, the ultimate object of the refuge is emptiness, clarity, and the non-duality of these two as a Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya. But for most of us, ordinary people, what does that mean? What is Dharmakaya? What is Sambhogakaya? I mean, forget about Dharmakaya. What do you mean by emptiness aspect of the mind? Okay, here's this. This is something that you need to know. We are assuming that we are really fed up with the samsaric life, at least a little bit, time to time. We are assuming that you are wishing to achieve enlightenment. So for that you need to apply the path. Path is a trick and it is a system. It has to have like some kind of a step-by-step kind of a progress or something to aim at. The great Sakyapa Master Jitsun Thakpa Jason said, Shembe Shugna Delve Miluhua, which is such a great statement. What he's saying is, for the path, you need to have some kind of a desirable object to which you desire. Here, when we say, I desire enlightenment, what does that mean? Does it have wall-to-wall carpeted room with a sofa seat? We need a delicious-looking carrot because we happen to be donkeys. Carrot. We need to be led, right? The donkey will, go after this carrot. And this Dhammakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, emptiness, clarity, that doesn't at all look delicious. It's too abstract. Maybe, of course, for those seasoned, advanced practitioners, yes, they really, even for a moment, they don't want to be separated from the three kayas. But for the rest of us, we have heard the words, but we don't really know what it means and how it feels. It would be nice if somebody kind of demonstrated, or if we feel the three kayas one day, and then it goes and say, okay, now get me. Then we know what to have, so to speak, what to chase after. And things get more complicated when the lamas tell us, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, right where you are. In the Prajna Paramita Sutras, words like Divamepa, Kamamepa, and also in the Dzogchen text, there's a Digang Punjurmepa. Things like the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya aspect, that has not decreased, that has not increased. It's there, as it is, all the time, even closer than right in front of our nose. So let's look for carrot, and that happens to be the refuge tree. Guru as all this visualization of the Guru, attractive, light blazing here, there, surrounded by this and that, sublime beings, all these we create. And by the way, it's not also completely just a trick, because it actually has a base. The real object of refuge is none other than your own mind. Since we are not really getting acquainted with it for now, we are now relying on the reflection of this mind, which appears to be, for us, like a master. For all of you and the rest of the Buddhists, for me including, we have a master, Shakyamuni Buddha. It's all, our own mind's projection. With a little bit of merit that we have managed to see him as the Buddha. His own cousin, Devadatta, doesn't have that idea. Okay. Now in the Tantrayana, individually, our own human master is none other than the Buddha. So now we are taking refuge to this Guru and the rest of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And I've already said, taking refuge is so crucial. Adisha Dipamkara was a learned scholar and saint in every field. But when he came to Tibet, he was, for the time being, known as the refuge scholar, because that's all he taught. So basically, the whole purpose of taking refuge is to really get acquainted with the inner object of refuge. As a help to that, we do all sorts of things, not only visualizing the refuge tree and prostration and all of that, but also like buying a statue, for instance, building a statue, or a house for a statue, that which represents the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. Or building, copying the Dharma texts, printing, publishing, translating, all of this. All this is basically a practice to acquaint with Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. You know, as Patrul Rinpoche put it so nicely here, these days, many of us, for instance, we buy a statue, and we consider that statue as our belonging. That is totally a wrong attitude. It's not a belonging. It is not a... if you are a devotee, when you buy a statue, this is not a asset anymore. Asset. I mean, asset to develop our material, worldly life. If it is an asset, it is definitely an asset to generate devotion
如果你认为说这是我
and merit. So today, maybe I'll let you ask 2 or 3 questions if you have.
Okay, I'll first translate her question. For example, if I have some kind of relationship with a person, of course that creates some kind of karma. But if I want to avoid this person now, how should I avoid that person, or how should I change the karma, this kind of karma? And the second question is this karma come from our previous lives, or the karma will continue to our future lives?
By avoiding, you may be or still creating a karma. Yes, and it maybe it's from the past life, maybe it's from beginning of this life. We don't really know, but it's not that important. The best we could do is avoid this person or not, having the aspiration, no matter what happens, my presence or my absence, avoiding or not avoiding, no matter what I do, may it somehow benefit this person. So with this kind of good motivation, whatever you do, it should eventually lead to right consequences.
She wants to ask something about the refuge. She said, Rinpoche just said the true refuge object, or the true refuge is to take refuge in our own mind. But right now, because we cannot do that, so we have to have this external refuge object. But then how how should we do it so that we have this kind of external refuge object, but without become like superstitious?
Because, okay, that's actually good.
这是一个好问题。
For instance, like in the going to practice, you visualize the object of refuge, and you do all the practice, such as prostrations, checking refuge, all of that. But towards the end, object of refuge dissolves into you, and you become inseparable with that. That's one method. And then also learning the information or the theory that the outer refuge is just a reflection of the inner refuge object. This will also help.
Yeah, Rinpoche talking about samsara yesterday and today a lot. What is the definition of samsara? 轮回的定义是什么？
I'll try to find a concrete answer tomorrow. No, I can tell you something now, but I'm trying to remember. There's a really good description, almost like a evolution of samsara, kind of how it works.
这样。
Just to tell you partially. In order to understand not only samsara, actually, even nirvana, understanding of 12 interdependent co-origination is important. I'm trying to remember. If I remember, maybe I can tell you now. Okay. It's a little rusty, but let me tell you. This is what in the Abhidharma it says, Basubandhu. Okay, so I will use myself as an example. I am a deluded being. I am conditioned being. I'm conditioned to since it's almost past one, I'm conditioned to become hungry. I'm explaining your. I'm seriously answering your question. So I go out. I see the McDonald's sign, and then when I see the hamburger, because of all this condition, now I have this object that is projected from all the conditioning, like hunger, all of this. And then, of course, the big one is the ignorance. Thinking that that's food, that's delicious, that's juicy, that's, I don't know, the cheese and the, onions and all of that. So that is the first of the 12 interdependent origination, the marikpa, the ignorance. And then, see, this is where I'm a bit rustic, so I'm going to jump here and there a little bit. Huh? Yeah, okay. And then, because of this ignorance, then I will work to get that hamburger.
Now,
I'll walk towards it. I'll, try to sort of choose the menu, all of this, right? So that's karmic formation, for instance. And then also, then we have like perception of the color, the shape, all of that. Already there's several of the 12 interdependent originations happening together. And then I will have a craving to this kind of form and names. Then I will take it, that's one of them, which then gives birth to the munching and tasting, which then gives us the death of the delicious feeling.
Now,
The end, when the hamburger is finished, is the death of the whole hamburger procedure.
yeah.
So then, feeling kind of, like depressed, like it's the end of a good feeling.
结束了。
So that's how the samsara works. Now, how does the nirvana work? You begin with the death. Where does my post-depression of hamburger happens?
Post-depression.
Post-hamburger depression, actually. Because I took it, birth. So you go backwards now. Then you take less, or maybe not at all. You are going backwards now, all the way. You then eventually attack the real culprit, the ignorance. Yeah, so, some cycle of samsara is happening, spinning all the time. And hamburger is just a very, very, like almost like a harmless cycle. But there are many other vicious. Yeah, this 12 interdependent co-origination, very important way to understand karma, rebirth, samsara, nirvana. So samsara is basically like making notes. Nirvana is undoing the note, right? But the real liberation is going beyond both. This is kind of difficult subject, actually. Anyway, a simple answer to your question. Karma, defilement, and rebirth. These three going spinning is the samsara. Karma, defilement, and rebirth. These three actually is happening every second, in everything. So this is why you see why, unlike ordinary beings, the Buddhist masters, we usually have birthdays only. We never celebrate, oh, somebody died. We never really celebrate that. We mourn for the death. But someone like Nagarjuna, when he wrote his long letter to his friend, he said, please make sure that you don't get born.
Get born.
Born. Birth is equally bad news to the death.
In way to the death.
Yeah, equal to death.
So,
how do we not die and not born? I know there has been lots and lots of attempt from the time immemorial, like how people try not to die, immortality, nectar, and all sorts of things. But we must also try really hard not to be born. Not to die, we have things like, Amita use practice. Not to be born, we have to practice Mahasandhi. Then you will also not to die. Yeah. Now we are really talking very cryptic. This is a very murky subject. So let's go and eat, because I think we are all getting a little hungry, and especially me. So I'm not making much sense.